History in Motion is proudly brought to you by Midas Sport and its associate sponsors. Welcome to Kyalami for our second look at racing from the Hitachi Race Day and Round 4 of the Midas Historic Tour. Fantastic news from the auction of the track that Porsche SA and Toby Fenter have bought the track and Longmaid continue to host many a fantastic race day. We keep the power on as we experience an onboard lap of the track.
There we go, one lap around Kyalami in a 1970s BMW 200. Crossing start finish now. Coming up to turn 1. Turn 1 is a flat in 5th gear. Keep to the right, keep far to the right. Now brake, turn left through turn 2, up the hill slightly. Kink coming up, change down to 4th gear just before the kink. Made it through the kink, change down to 3rd for the next corner. Coming up to a piece of the old circuit. Old pits on the left-hand side, been used for many years. Coming up for a classic corner called Sunset. Many cars were parked against the inside barriers on this corner. Coming through in 5th gear, let it drift out, going towards Clubhouse. Brake hard, change down to 3rd. Cut across the inside early, let it drift out onto the concrete. Going down a short straight to the S's. Turn in early into S1, cut across slightly and now flat out S2, change to 5th, go up the hill. Looking for the brake marker for West Bank, little tower on the left hand side. There it is, now brake hard. Change down to 4th, change down to 3rd, turn left through the corner. Keep it drift out, let it drift out, down the mine shaft, flat out, 4th, 5th. Keep it flat all the way through the corner. Go through the corner, 5th gear, flat. Now get across the left before braking hard. Change down to 4th, change down to 3rd. Turn across the right, let it drift out and flat out towards the new kink. The new kink is just a slight lift off and cut across. Coming up towards the last corner. Pit lane entrance to the left, brake hard, change down to 3rd. And let it go flat out, all the way straight towards the start finish again. This was a lap of Kyalami in 2014, as the circuit is now.
We start the racing off with action from the SKF Pre-66 Sports and GT cars and Little Giants. Some fantastic cars are out on the track today, with the Hitachi girls adding some extra glamour to the event. We caught up with Dennis McBeath before the action began.
It was built in the early 60s by Terry Townsend, and it was raced in the 9-hour in 67 and crashed, unfortunately, and it's been off the track for quite a while. They brought it out of retirement in 2000, and Terry didn't have much success with it then. But finally now we've managed to get it sorted out and it's going well.
I started racing in 1988 when I stopped playing cricket in England, even though I was still playing cricket here. And so I was racing and playing cricket at the same time. But I've always followed racing, and I've come to Kyalami I don't know how many times. And when they said to me, would I like to go around in the Porsche pace car? I said, yeah, but let me drive it. And they said, no, do you want to race? I got Mazda came in with 3 cars, and that's where we started.
Heading up the grid is Ross Lazarus with Peter Lindenberg keeping him company on the front row. The Dutoy brothers fill up the second row. Ifat Buerta and Josh Dovey on row 3 with Chad Tenduskata and Dennis McBeath on row 4. Ishmael Beloy in his Dart rounds out the top 12. The lights go out and they're off. A great start there for Mark Dutoy in his Lola T70 Spider, coming through to take second place behind Ross Lazarus. Peter Lindenberg in the Shelby Daytona is right behind them, heading up to turn 4, determined not to let them pull away. Pushing hard to keep up with the leaders, and Jonathan Dutoy loses the back end and heads into the kitty litter and ends up parking the Trans-Africa Racing Daytona Coupe under the bridge. On board now with Ifrit Buerta coming down the mine shaft. Great shot looking back, and we see Dutoy's car under the bridge. Unfortunately, it's game over for him. Back with the leaders, and Ross Lazarus in the Lindenberg Racing GT40 is having to defend well against the Lola of Dutoy as he is all over the back of the car. Coming up the back straight, and Dutoy has a look on the left and a look on the right, but can't see a way past. Into Sunset they go, nose to tail. A great battle developing between Dennis McBeath in his little Bloom PT Sports and Chad Tenduskata in his VPW Spider. The VPW was initially built as a Porsche replica in Rhodesia back in 1956, and the aluminium one-piece body was built over the cage, a great-looking little car, which is currently giving Dennis McBeath a lot of work to do. Out of Sunset and into Clubhouse, Chad makes his move and manages to get past the MPT. He powers on as they head towards the S's. Neil Oosthuizen has parked up here and hops out of the car. A slight miscalculation on fuel means a definite retirement for him. Nick Parrott in his MGB exits the mine shaft and heads into the bowl. Behind him is Ferdy van Niekerk Sr. in the silver and black Porsche 356A. Clive Rice in his AC Cobra 427SC. I'm sure he'll be having a great day's racing as he leads the red dot of Ishmael Beloy through the bowl and up to turn 13. Ross Lazarus seems to have put a small cushion between himself and Mark Dutoy as they head into turn 4. Although there's some traffic ahead, it's Gary Swan in his Cobra who gets lapped by the leaders. Lazarus and Dutoy sail past Swan and head into Sunset. The cars really do get a chance to stretch their legs at Kyalami with some nice long straights and great flowing corners. Mark Dutoy in his Trans-Africa Racing Lola T70 is really keeping the pressure on the GT40 of Ross Lazarus as they drop into the S's. Great onboard angle here from Peter Lindenberg in his Shelby Daytona as he steers his way through the S's. Oh no! Mark Dutoy is off the track. Something's gone wrong with the car. Bad news, I'm afraid, for Dutoy, but I'm sure Ross Lazarus won't miss him in the mirrors. Into West Bank, Lindenberg goes. Great shot of the tyres working here. We see Mark Dutoy out of his car, and the marshals are ensuring everything's okay. The little MPT has fought its way back past the VPW and leads Chad Tenduskata into the bowl and up the hill. Josh Dovey in his Lotus 26R is currently lying in third, a lap ahead of Les McLeod in his Mr. Clean MGB. Martin van der Merwe in his MGB GT leads Steve Koenig in his MGA out of Clubhouse and into the S's. The MG Youth Program driver is really keeping the pressure on Martin van der Merwe. Ross Lazarus, now with a comfortable lead after Mark Dutoy's early end to the race, rounds the final bend to see the checkered flag waiting for him. Dennis McBeath is still coming under tremendous pressure from Chad Tenduskata as they head to the final turn of the circuit. They're side by side and essentially drag racer to the line. It's McBeath who keeps his place and beats the VPW by just under a second in the end. Oh no! After all that hard work, it looks like Steve Koenig lost the back end coming out of the bowl and has spun the MGA. This will lose him a lot of time, and he will be disappointed with that, as he was really in a battle to the line with Martin van der Merwe. So Ross Lazarus claiming a fantastic victory there, with Peter Lindenberg a distant second, Josh Dovey in third place with Dennis McBeath, and Chad Tenduskata taking fourth and fifth respectively.
I was having a good dice with Ross and caught a bit of a bad lap. One of the cars we were lapping in the wrong spots. I had a bit to catch up, and then just through the S's the car snapped and spun, and then when I got out I could see that the rear wishbone had snapped.
He was on my arse the whole race. I thought he was holding back. He's maybe going to try the second or last lap. I was a bit quicker than him, through the corners, but he had a bit of more speed through me. There's certain parts on the track that he's actually quicker than me and I was quicker than him. So we got stuck in a bit of traffic, which I pulled a bit of a gap. And then I think on the second last lap, I was driving and the next thing he was in my mirrors, I believe he broke a wishbone or an upright, I think a wishbone. But no, it was a great battle.
It was a hassle. I mean, I had to outbrake him and do some crazy stuff in the corners because he was very far from the straight.
It's making this old man work very hard.
The crowds are on the pit wall. The lights go out, engines accelerate, and they're racing. Great start there from Ross Lazarus. The rest of the field coming through, and Nick Parrott in his MGB leads Ferdy van Niekerk Sr. in his Porsche 356A as they head into turn 2. Nose to tail, Lazarus, Lindenberg and Dutoy, the top three. Picking up where they left off, it's the MPT ahead of the VPW. Gary Swan in his Cobra is just ahead of Nick Parrott as they head into turn 4. Ifrit Buerta in the orange Porsche 911R leads the MPT and VPW into sunset. At the back of the field, they come 3 abreast down the straight. It's Neil Oosthuizen in the red Alpha Spider, Clive Winterstein in his silver and burgundy Porsche 356A, and Les McLeod in his white MGB. Oosthuizen takes the inside line into sunset and inches ahead of McLeod. The Lindenberg Racing GT40 and Shelby Daytona have pulled a bit of a gap on the Trans-Africa Racing Daytona Coupe as they round turn 4. Down to the final bend, and Dennis McBeath has the edge over Chad Tenduskata. But does he? The VPW has a look down the inside, and they round the bend side by side. The MPT seems to have a fraction more power, though, and maintains his position heading down the start-finish straight. The leaders have been powering their way through the field and are going to be coming into a bit of traffic shortly as they approach some of the slower cars to lap them. Ross Lazarus is still ahead of Peter Lindenberg and Jonathan Dutoy. Beloy, McLeod and Koenig make their way round Clubhouse with the leaders rapidly approaching. Lazarus makes his move and leads the top 3 cars through the S's. Coming down the back straight, and Nick Parrott pulls out to the right of Ferdy van Niekerk Sr. and goes for the inside line into sunset. He seems to have taken the position, but van Niekerk is fighting back on the way to Clubhouse, but he doesn't quite have enough, and Parrott holds firm into Clubhouse. Van Niekerk tries again as they exit the bend, but Parrott definitely has the power, and he makes it stick as they head toward the S's. Great driving. Neil Oosthuizen in the Alpha Spider leads Steve Koenig in the MGA down to turn 14 and onto the start-finish straight. Coming into the bowl, and it's still Ross Lazarus ahead of Peter Lindenberg. GT40 ahead of the Shelby Daytona. Clive Winterstein would have seen the lead pair in his mirrors and would make sure that he gets out of the way as they head up the hill to turn 13. Lindenberg is pushing hard in his Daytona. He really would love to take it on the line from Lazarus, and he certainly is keeping the pressure on the GT40 driver. On the start-finish straight, and the flag is out. Ross Lazarus has done enough, and he takes victory by a mere 0.2 of a second from Peter Lindenberg. Further back, and Ferdy van Niekerk Sr. is desperately looking for a way past Clive Rice as they round the final bend. Side by side, they race to the flag. It's Clive Rice who stays ahead in his Cobra, beating van Niekerk's Porsche to the line by just over half a second. Confirmation of the results then. Ross Lazarus takes victory with Peter Lindenberg second. Jonathan Dutoy came home in third with Ifrit Buerta fourth. Nick Parrott in his MGB took the honours in the Little Giants class. Onto the podium they go, and smiles all round for the winning drivers.
No, that was close. I tried everything, but it's, when the difference is so minuscule, I guess it's like in any racing. If the cars are that close, you really got to try for a mistake, but he didn't give in. But he's going to go to bed tonight dreaming of the front of a Daytona, so that's cool.
And that's all I saw in my mirror was this front of the Daytona, trying to poke there, trying to poke there. Pete was quicker than me through turn 1, and at the mine shaft I locked up a few times there, and the harder I pushed, then he stayed with me. I couldn't pull a gap. So for 8 laps I was pushing as hard as I can, just managed to keep him behind me, but it was a close race.
A bumper grid in historic Saleen cars on the Midas Historic Tour after the break.